to the Drum Show. My name is Quinlan, and what I'm doing tonight is explaining triggers to you. Okay, now, most of the world is going over to electronic drum kits. It's an interesting situation where what you have is cities around the world getting built up, you know, people sandwiched on top of people in apartment buildings and all this sort of stuff. So the drum kit that we know and love for decades is in incredibly hostile territory. As soon as you get home with your new little drum kit, it doesn't matter if the next door neighbour does his lawn mower and whippersnipper and leaf blower all day long. As soon as someone hears bloody drummers next door ring the council and all this sort of stuff. So the whole world is turning over to electronic drum kits. And one of the things about it is that you work with what you've got, you go with the flow. That doesn't mean to just roll over and die or anything like that. What that means is that you use the technology. So the loudest, or what is arguably the loudest of the musical instruments, can become the quietest, because all you need to do is put in a set of headphones, plug in a set of headphones to an electronic drum kit, and you can play all night long, you know, that kind of thing. And don't let the bastards get you down, you know, that kind of thing. But then what we have is the best of both worlds, you see. What happens is that nothing's going to take away from the actual physical feeling of what a real drum kit gives you. The actual force of just, you know, just being able to play, you know, this wonderful instrument. But what I'm doing tonight is showing you not only the possibilities of what you can do with electronics and all that, but what you can do with actual triggers, you see. Now, what happens is we have two things. We have the real thing, the drum kit. We have the electronic thing, the electronic drum kit, of which I have one over there, so, you know, I'm not bagging them by any stretch. What we have is a hybrid now, because what a lot of people do is get drum triggers. They are not new, they are well over a decade old, and actually quite a few decades old, as far as the first percussion synthesizer and all this sort of stuff. But what I'd like to do tonight is just talk about simple things that actually really get your creative juices flowing, so to speak, because what happens is what I just did with that opening solo, I essentially just did with stuff that everyone has, okay? What I have here are 4 triggers. I'm going to tap them. There they are there. That's 4 triggers. These are quite reasonably priced ones. You can see what they are, that kind of business. I'm not an endorsee. It's not paid for anything, or, you know, this show is proudly sponsored by these or anything. None of that at all. What it is just some triggers. Over here, I've got some homemade triggers, just using essentially just going to your local electronics store and just getting those little $2 contacts, or maybe $3 or $4 or whatever they are, and just doing what my teacher taught me in school, you know, how to solder and all this sort of stuff. And what I'm doing is I'm going through an interface unit, okay, and into my good old computer with a basic, well, I'm using GarageBand is what it is. I've just plugged straight into it, and I'm using some of the special sounds on it. And what I'm doing with this is that this creates a whole other thing with my playing, okay? Because when you're playing a standard, you know, drum kit and all that, of course you've got your wonderful rock beat and all that. How can you not even go past that? So you've got this business. But what happens? What happens if I take the hi-hat part and actually just put it on tom-tom? So if I tune my toms to certain tones, and for this it's actually an F sharp minor arpeggio. Okay, I can work with that. So this can become by bringing it up a little bit. Now, if I'm thinking about the grades, you know, when I've written a national drum set syllabus back in 1995, a basic rock beat would be grade 1. The stuff that I did then starts to get into grades 2 and 3. Right? If I'm going to put the offbeat on there and move things around, stuff like that, it might even be grade 4s and 5s and all this sort of business, getting into progressive rock or progressive metal or whatever you want to call it. But what I'm talking about, really, I'll go to a break now, but essentially what I'm talking about tonight is triggers and what you can do with them, how you can get melodic with them. Okay, back after the break.